The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber stretched high above the gathering of alien delegates. Light from 3 different suns filtered through the transparent walls, casting rainbow patterns across the polished floor. Representatives from dozens of species sat in their assigned sections, their various forms creating a bizarre collection of shapes and colors. Ambassador Kyung-ho adjusted his simple black uniform and looked around the chamber. After 6 months of meetings, he still felt uncomfortable in this place. The other species had technology that seemed like magic compared to what humans used back on Earth. Their ships could cross the galaxy in days while human vessels took months to travel between nearby star systems. Today was important. Today, the Council would vote on humanity's request to become a military observer. It was a small step, but it would give humans access to galactic defense networks and trade routes. More importantly, it would mean other species saw humans as equals instead of primitives who had barely learned to leave their home planet. Fleet Commander Tae-min of the Vorthak Empire stood up from his section. The Vorthak looked like giant insects with dark green shells and multiple arms. Tae-min was larger than most of his kind, with scars across his shell that showed his long military service. When he spoke, his voice came through the translation device as a deep rumble. Honored Council members, Tae-min began, we gathered today to discuss a request that frankly amazes me. The humans want military observer status. He paused and looked directly at Kyung-ho. These creatures have been in space for less than 200 years. Their fastest ships use chemical rockets that barely reach 1% of light speed. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates turned to stare at the human section with what looked like amusement. Kyung-ho kept his face calm, but inside he felt embarrassed. Everything Tae-min said was true, at least as far as the galactic community knew. Science Minister Ji-woo from the Zilithian Collective rose next. The Zilithians were tall and thin with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy for their advanced technology and cold logic. Ji-woo activated a holographic display that showed detailed charts and numbers. I have analyzed human technology extensively, Ji-woo said in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. Their weapons are crude kinetic projectiles and simple explosives. Their shields cannot stop basic plasma fire. Their sensors cannot detect cloaked vessels. By every measure we use, humans are at least 300 years behind the galactic standard. The hologram showed images of human warships from the recent colonial wars. They looked bulky and primitive compared to the sleek vessels of other species. The ships had visible armor plating and weapon turrets that seemed almost ancient next to the energy-based systems other races used. Captain Do-hyun sat quietly next to Kyung-ho. The military officer had been silent during all the previous meetings. He wore the same simple uniform as the ambassador, with only small rank insignia to show his position. His face showed no emotion as the other species discussed human weaknesses like they were reading a shopping list. Council Chairman Vel Tar, an elderly being from a neutral species, spoke from the center of the chamber. The Galactic Defense Protocol requires that military observers demonstrate the ability to defend themselves and assist in joint operations. How can humans meet these requirements with their current technology level? Kyung-ho stood up to respond. Honored Chairman, humans may be new to galactic society, but we have experience with conflict. We have defended our colonies from raiders and hostile forces. We ask only for the chance to prove ourselves. Tae-min made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. Prove yourselves. Against what? The criminal gangs that attack your remote settlements? Those raiders use stolen ships and improvised weapons. They are barely more advanced than you are. The humans cannot even travel faster than light without using the old jump gates, added Ji-woo. How can they respond to threats across galactic space? How can they contribute to fleet operations when their ships take months to reach battle zones? More delegates began speaking at once. A representative from the hegemony of gas giants complained that humans would be a burden in any real military operation. The silicon-based collective suggested that humans might be better served under a protectorate arrangement with a more advanced species. Kyung-ho listened to the growing chorus of objections. Each criticism hurt because it was based on truth, or at least what appeared to be truth. The galactic community had been watching human space for decades. They had seen human ships, human weapons, human tactics. They thought they understood human capabilities completely. Captain Do-hyun leaned over and whispered something to Kyung-ho. The ambassador nodded and stood again. "We understand the Council's concerns," Kyung-ho said. "Perhaps a demonstration would help address these questions about human military capability." The chamber fell quiet. Chairman Veltar looked interested. "What kind of demonstration do you propose, Ambassador?" "There are reports of increased pirate activity in the Outer Rim territories," Kyung-ho replied. "The raiders have been attacking civilian transports and avoiding galactic patrol ships. If the Council wishes to observe human military operations, we could respond to one of these threats." Taemin stood up quickly. "You would send human ships against the pirate coalitions? Those groups have captured military vessels from several species. They have advanced weapons and experienced crews. Your primitive ships would be destroyed within minutes. The humans would not survive first contact with real military opposition," Jiwoo added. "It would be a massacre. The Council cannot approve such a mission." Chairman Veltar raised one of his four arms for silence. "The proposal has merit. If humans wish to join galactic military operations, they must demonstrate their capabilities under real conditions. However, we cannot allow unnecessary loss of life." He paused to consider. "We will arrange for a galactic observer fleet to monitor the operation. If human forces appear to be in serious danger, we will intervene." Kyung-ho bowed formally. "We accept these terms, Honored Chairman." The vote was called quickly. Most species voted in favor, though several abstained. They were curious to see what would happen when human technology met real galactic-level opposition. Many expected it would be the last time humans requested military status. As the session ended, delegates began filing out of the chamber. Several stopped to speak with Kyung-ho, offering condolences or advice about reconsidering the demonstration. Taemin approached with what might have been sympathy on his insect-like features. "Ambassador, you seem like a reasonable being," the Vorthak commander said. "Perhaps you should convince your leaders to accept protectorate status instead. There is no shame in admitting when you are outmatched." Kyung-ho smiled politely. "Thank you for your concern, Commander. I am confident that the demonstration will be educational for everyone involved." As the chamber emptied, Captain Do-hyun finally spoke. "Sir, should I send the message?" Kyung-ho nodded. "Tell them we have Council approval for the operation, and remind them to keep the safety protocols active. We want to make a point, not start a war." Do-hyun activated a small communication device. That looked no different from the primitive human technology the Council had been discussing. But the message he sent traveled instantly across the galaxy through channels no other species even knew existed. 3 weeks later, the Helix Nebula system buzzed with activity. The swirling clouds of gas and cosmic dust made it a perfect hiding place for criminals and pirates. For months, raider fleets had been using the nebula as their base to attack civilian ships traveling the nearby trade routes. Admiral Wu Jin stood on the bridge of his massive Vorthak dreadnought, the Iron Claw. The ship was over 2 kilometers long, bristling with plasma cannons and quantum torpedo launchers. Its dark, green hull bore the scars of countless battles, each mark a testament to Vorthak military superiority. Through the viewing windows, he could see the other ships of the Galactic Observer Fleet spread out in formation. The Zilithian science vessel, Logical Conclusion, hung nearby like a silver needle against the star field. Its smooth hull contained the most advanced sensors in known space. Research Director Yoon Young worked at her station aboard the ship, monitoring every frequency and energy signature in the system. Her pale blue fingers danced across holographic controls as she searched for any sign of human ships. "Admiral," reported his communications officer, "we have been in position for 6 standard hours. Still no contact from the human fleet." Wu Jin clicked his mandibles in irritation. Perhaps they realized the foolishness of their proposal and decided not to come. He had never believed humans could handle real military opposition. Their primitive technology was suited only for fighting other primitives. On the Logical Conclusion, Yoon-young reviewed her sensor data again. The numbers were clear. No human ships had entered the system. No energy signatures matching human technology appeared anywhere in the nebula. Either the humans were even more primitive than she thought, or they had changed their minds about the demonstration. Research Director, called one of her assistants. "Should we expand our search parameters? Perhaps human ships are too slow to reach us on schedule." Yoon considered this. Human faster-than-light travel relied on ancient jump gates left behind by an extinct civilization. They could not travel freely between star systems like other species. "Maintain current scans," she decided. "If they arrive, we will detect them." Deep in the Helix Nebula, Captain Bom Yi commanded her pirate coalition from the bridge of a stolen hegemony cruiser. The ship had once belonged to the gas giant military before her crews captured it during a raid 2 years ago. Now it served as the flagship for over 50 vessels of various designs and origins. Bom Yi had been a Zalithian military officer before she turned to piracy. Her pale blue skin bore tattoos that marked her as an exile from her people. She understood galactic military technology better than most, which made her pirate fleet unusually effective. They did not just steal cargo. They captured entire ships and added them to their growing armada. "Captain," reported her sensor operator, "the Galactic Observer fleet is still holding position at the edge of the system. No sign of the humans. They are supposed to be watching." Bom Yi smiled coldly. "The humans probably looked at our numbers and ran away. 50 ships against whatever primitive force they could gather? They would have to be insane to fight us." Her fleet included former military vessels from 6 different species. Each ship carried weapons that could destroy a small city. Her crews were experienced fighters who had survived dozens of battles against galactic patrol forces. The idea that primitive humans would challenge them seemed like a joke. "Maintain alert status," she ordered. "If the humans do show up, we will give the galaxy a demonstration of what happens to species that overestimate themselves." Back on the observer fleet, hours continued to pass without any sign of human activity. Admiral Wu Jin grew more confident that he had been right about human cowardice. On the logical conclusion, Yoon prepared reports about human failure to honor their commitment to the Council. The pirate fleet remained hidden in the dense parts of the nebula. Their ships were spread across several asteroid fields and gas clouds, making them difficult to detect with standard sensors. Captain Bom Yi had chosen their positions carefully. If galactic forces tried to attack, her ships could scatter in multiple directions and escape. "Captain," her communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Observer Fleet. They are asking if we have detected any human ships." Bom Yi laughed. "Tell them we see nothing. The humans have apparently decided to stay home where it is safe." Admiral Wu Jin received the pirate response with satisfaction. He had expected exactly this outcome. Humans talked about military capability, but when faced with real opposition, they retreated. It proved everything he had told the Council about. Human weakness. "Prepare a report for the Council," he ordered his staff. "Document that humans failed to appear for their own demonstration. This will end any discussion about their military observer application." Research Director Yoon agreed with the Admiral's assessment. Her sensors had thoroughly scanned the entire system multiple times. No human ships existed anywhere within detection range. The humans had either never left their space or had turned back when they learned about the size of the pirate fleet. "The humans clearly understand they are outmatched," she told her research team. "It shows they have at least some wisdom, even if they lack courage." Inside the nebula, Captain Bom Yi began planning her next moves. With no human threat to worry about, she could focus on more profitable activities. Several rich cargo convoys were scheduled to pass through nearby systems in the coming days. Her fleet could attack them without interference from galactic forces. "Prepare for departure," she ordered. "If the humans will not come to us, we will continue our regular operations. Set course for the Kepler trade route. Intelligence reports indicate a valuable shipment of rare metals will pass through tomorrow." Her crew moved efficiently to carry out orders. They had conducted many such raids and knew their jobs well. Within hours, they could be attacking defenseless merchant ships while the Galactic Observer Fleet waited uselessly for humans who would never come. Admiral Wu Jin watched the nebula through his view screen and shook his head in disgust. The humans had wasted everyone's time with their empty boasting. Tomorrow he would return to Vorthak space and recommend that the Council reject any future human requests for military status. "Sir," his sensor officer reported, "the pirate fleet appears to be moving. They may be preparing to leave the system." "Let them go," Wu Jin replied. "Without human opposition, There is no point in maintaining our position here. We have gathered enough evidence of human unreliability. Research Director Yoon Young made final notes in her official report. The data was clear and undeniable. Humans had failed to demonstrate any military capability because they possessed none worth demonstrating. The Council would have scientific proof that humans were not ready for military responsibility. As the Galactic Observer Fleet prepared to end their mission, none of them noticed the strange readings that had begun appearing at the very edge of their sensor range. The signatures were too faint to trigger alarms and too unusual to match any known technology patterns. Something was coming toward the Helix Nebula system, but it moved in ways that made no sense according to galactic science. The hours dragged on in the Helix Nebula system. Admiral Wu Jin paced across the bridge of his dreadnought, his multiple arms clasped behind his scarred shell. The waiting had gone on far longer than anyone expected. Even the most generous estimates of human travel time had passed without any sign of their promised fleet. "Status report," he demanded from his sensor officer. "No change, Admiral. Long-range sensors detect no incoming vessels of any type. The system remains clear except for our observer fleet and the pirate coalition." Research Director Yoon Young ran another deep scan from her science vessel. Her instruments could detect energy signatures across dozens of different spectrums. They could spot cloaked ships, identify vessel types from their engine emissions, and track movement patterns across vast distances. But today, they found nothing that looked like human technology. "Perhaps we should consider that humans simply do not possess faster-than-light-capable warships," she told her research team. "Their requests for military status may have been based on misunderstanding rather than actual capability." Deep in the nebula, Captain Bom Yi grew restless aboard her stolen cruiser. Her pirate fleet had been on high alert for over 12 hours. Her crews were experienced fighters, but maintaining combat readiness for extended periods made them tired and irritable. "Captain," her first officer reported, "several ship commanders are requesting permission to begin patrol operations. The crews need activity to maintain morale." Bom Yi considered this. Her fleet controlled this entire region of space through fear and superior firepower. Regular patrols reminded local traders and miners that resistance was futile. But she had promised the Galactic Observers a demonstration of what happened to species that challenged her authority. "Maintain positions for now," she decided. "If the humans are truly coming, I want them to face our full strength. Let the galaxy see what happens to primitives who think they can threaten real military forces." Her ships remained spread throughout the asteroid fields and gas clouds. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level a city. Together, they represented one of the largest pirate fleets ever assembled. No force of comparable size existed in this region of space. Hours passed. Admiral Wu Jin began preparing orders to withdraw the observer fleet. The humans had clearly decided not to honor their commitment. There was no point in wasting more time waiting for ships that would never arrive. Then something changed. "Admiral," his sensor officer called out with confusion in his voice. "I am detecting unusual gravitational readings at the edge of the system." Wu Jin moved to examine the sensor display. The readings showed massive distortions in local space-time, but no visible source. It looked like something enormous was bending space itself, but his instruments detected no physical object causing the effect. "Sensor malfunction?" he asked. "Negative, sir. I have run full diagnostics twice. The readings are genuine, but I cannot explain them." Research Director Yoon Young noticed the same anomalies from her science vessel. Her more sensitive instruments provided additional detail that made the readings even more puzzling. The gravitational distortions suggested the presence of objects with incredible mass, but nothing appeared on visual or energy sensors. "This is impossible," she told her team. "Nothing in galactic science can explain these readings. Matter cannot exist without producing some form of detectable signature." Her instruments registered gravitational effects equivalent to multiple large spacecraft, but showed no corresponding heat signatures, energy emissions, or physical mass. It was as if invisible objects were warping space through unknown means. "Captain, Bom Yi received reports of the strange readings from her own sensor operators. Unlike the galactic observers, she immediately suspected trouble. Years of piracy had taught her to trust her instincts when things seemed wrong. "All ships to battle stations," she ordered. "Unknown contacts approaching the system. Prepare for possible engagement." Her fleet responded quickly to the alert. Weapon systems powered up across 50 vessels, shields activated, and defensive formations took shape among the asteroids. If something was coming toward them through methods they could not understand, they would be ready to fight. "Captain," her sensor officer reported, "the gravitational anomalies are increasing in strength. Whatever is causing them appears to be moving closer to our position." Bom-yi studied her tactical display. The readings showed impossible things, objects that existed but could not be seen. Mass that bent space but produced no other signatures, technology that operated beyond anything. In her extensive knowledge of galactic military systems, "Attempt to communicate with the contacts," she ordered. "Demand identification and purpose." Her communications officer tried multiple frequencies and protocols. Standard galactic communication methods produced no response. Emergency channels remained silent. Even basic mathematical signals received no acknowledgement. Admiral Wu Jin watched his sensor displays with growing alarm. The gravitational distortions were now strong enough to affect navigation systems. His helmsman reported difficulty maintaining precise positioning as local space seemed to shift around them. "Research Director," he called to the Zilithian science vessel, "what is your analysis of these phenomena?" Yun-Young had no good answers. Her instruments detected effects that contradicted fundamental principles of physics as the galactic community understood them. "The readings suggest advanced gravitational manipulation technology," she replied, "but no known species possesses such capabilities." The pirate fleet began experiencing navigation problems as the gravitational effects intensified. Several ships reported instrument failures as their systems tried to compensate for constantly changing spatial conditions. Captain Bom-yi realized that whatever approached them possessed technology far beyond anything she had encountered. "Prepare to evacuate the system," she ordered her fleet. "All ships charge jump drives for immediate departure." But when her navigation officer tried to plot escape routes, he discovered something terrifying. The gravitational distortions were interfering with faster-than-light travel. Jump drives could not establish stable connections to hyperspace. The unknown contacts had somehow trapped her entire fleet in normal space. "Captain," he reported with fear in his voice, "we cannot achieve FTL flight. Something is blocking our jump capabilities." Panic began to spread through the pirate fleet. Ships that had dominated this region through superior mobility found themselves unable to retreat. Whatever was coming toward them had cut off their primary advantage before revealing itself. Then, cutting through all the confusion and fear, a calm human voice spoke across every communication channel in the system. "This is the KHSV Sejong the Great. You have 30 seconds to surrender." The voice carried clearly to every ship in both fleets. Admiral Wu Jin stared at his communications. Panel in shock. Research Director Yun-Young checked her instruments frantically, but they still showed no human vessels anywhere in the system. Captain Bom-yi activated her own scanners to maximum power. Nothing. The voice seemed to come from empty space itself. "Unknown. Vessel," she transmitted back. "Identify yourself and show your position. You are speaking to the coalition fleet of Captain Bom-yi. We do not surrender to invisible cowards." The response came immediately, still in that same calm human tone. "Captain Bom-yi, you have fired upon civilian vessels under human protection. Your surrender will be accepted once. This offer will not be repeated. Every sensor in the system strained to locate the source of the transmission. The most advanced detection equipment in galactic space found nothing but empty vacuum where the voice seemed to originate. 30 seconds had never felt so long. Captain Bom-yi stared at her communication panel with rage building in her chest. No one had spoken to her with such disrespect in years. Her fleet controlled this entire region of space through fear and violence. She had destroyed galactic patrol, ships, and captured military vessels from multiple species. The idea that invisible humans thought they could threaten her was insulting. "All ships," she broadcast to her fleet, "open fire on the source coordinates of that transmission. Maximum firepower." 50 vessels unleashed their weapons into the space where the human voice had originated. Plasma cannons sent streams of superheated energy across the void. Quantum torpedoes exploded in brilliant flashes that lit up the nebula. Particle beams carved through asteroid fragments as the pirates fired blindly at their invisible enemy. The barrage continued for nearly a minute. Enough destructive power to destroy a small moon poured into empty space. Energy readings spiked. Across every spectrum, as weapons designed to crack planetary shields discharged their fury at nothing they could see. When the firing stopped, silence returned to the system. Sensor sweeps showed no debris, no explosion signatures, no indication that anything had been hit. The massive weapons barrage had accomplished nothing except lighting up the darkness. Admiral Wu Jin watched the display from his dreadnought with growing unease. He had seen the firepower of pirate fleets before. Their weapons were stolen from legitimate military forces and maintained by experienced crews. The amount of energy they had just released should have vaporized anything within. "Several kilometers of the target zone. Status report?" he demanded from his sensor officer. "No impact signatures detected, Admiral. All weapons fire appears to have missed or been absorbed by unknown means." Research Director Yun Young frantically adjusted her instruments aboard the science vessel. The energy readings from the pirate weapons barrage had been enormous, but they showed no corresponding destruction. Her sensors should have detected debris fields, radiation signatures, or at least thermal blooms from successful hits. "This violates basic physics," she told her research team. "Energy cannot simply disappear. Without trace, something deflected or absorbed that entire weapons barrage." Her most sensitive instruments began registering new readings. A massive gravity well signature was forming directly in front of the pirate fleet. The readings showed an object of incredible size and density, but visual sensors still detected nothing in that location. "Research Director," called one of her assistants, "gravitational readings are off all scales. Whatever is out there has mass equivalent to a large asteroid, but we see only empty space." Captain Bomyi studied her tactical display with growing fear. The gravity well readings indicated something enormous positioned between her fleet and their planned escape routes. Her navigation officer reported that the gravitational effects were getting stronger, making precise movement increasingly difficult. "Prepare all weapons for second barrage," she ordered. "If something is there, we will keep firing until we hit it." But before her fleet could charge their weapons again, space itself began to change. The area in front of the pirate formation started to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Reality seemed to bend and twist as invisible forces warped the fabric of space-time. Stars visible in the background appeared to stretch and distort as gravitational lensing effects intensified. Admiral Wu Jin gripped the railing of his command platform as his instruments registered readings that should have been impossible. "What are we looking at?" he demanded. His sensor officer could barely speak. "Sir, something is materializing. The gravitational distortions are increasing exponentially. Whatever technology is causing this operates beyond our understanding." Research. Director Yun Young watched her displays with scientific fascination mixed with terror. The readings showed controlled manipulation of space-time on a scale that galactic science considered theoretical at best. "They are using gravity itself as a tool," she whispered to her team. "This should not be possible with any known technology." The shimmering in space intensified. What had looked like empty vacuum began to reveal hints of vast structures hidden beneath layers of distorted light. The gravitational effects reached levels that started affecting the observer ships despite their distance from the phenomenon. Then reality snapped back into focus. The KHSV Sejong the Great appeared. Admiral Wu Jin felt his legs buckle as he stared at the impossible sight. The human warship stretched over 3 kilometers in length, its hull a sleek black surface that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Angular design elements gave it an aggressive appearance while maintaining elegant proportions that spoke of advanced engineering, but the size was not what terrified him. It was the readings. "Impossible," his sensor officer gasped. "Power output exceeds anything in our databases. Hull composition registers as unknown materials. Weapons signatures indicate technology at least 500 years beyond galactic standards." Research. Director Yun Young stared at her instruments in shock. Every reading contradicted what she thought she knew about human capabilities. The ship's power core generated energy levels equivalent to a small star. Its hull was composed of metamaterials that her sensors could not properly analyze. Weapons systems showed energy patterns that operated on principles her science could not explain. "How is this possible?" she asked her team. "Human technology is primitive. We have observed their ships for decades. They use chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. The Sejong the Great hung in space like a dark monument to impossible engineering. Its presence warped local space-time enough to affect navigation systems on ships dozens of kilometers away. Energy. Readings from its various systems suggested technology so advanced that it made galactic military vessels look like toys by comparison. Captain Bom Yi stared at the human warship with absolute terror. In 30 years of piracy, she had never encountered anything like it. Her stolen military vessels suddenly seemed like primitive boats compared to the technological marvel before her. All ships retreat, she ordered her fleet. Maximum emergency, power to engines. But her navigation officer delivered devastating news. Captain, we still cannot achieve FTL flight. The gravitational effects are preventing jump drive activation. The human voice returned, still calm and professional, despite the awesome display of power. Captain Bom Yi, you have fired upon a vessel of the Korean Human Star Navy. This constitutes an act of war under galactic law. Preparing defensive response. The words sent chills through both fleets. If this was merely a defensive response, what did human offensive capability look like? The Sejong the Great had appeared from nowhere, trapped an entire pirate fleet, and demonstrated technology that redefined what was possible. Admiral Wu Jin realized with growing horror that everything the Galactic Council believed about humanity was wrong. They were not primitive newcomers struggling with basic space travel. They were something far more advanced than any species in known space. Communications, he ordered his crew. Open a channel to the human vessel immediately. But before his communications officer could comply, weapon systems aboard the Sejong the Great began powering up. Energy readings spiked to levels that made the recent pirate barrage look like small fireworks. Whatever the humans were preparing to do would make their previous demonstration of advanced technology seem insignificant. Research Director Yoon Young watched her instruments with fascination and dread. The energy buildup aboard the human vessel suggested weapons capable of destroying entire fleets with single shots, but the readings also showed something else that amazed her even more. The humans were holding back. The power signatures indicated they were using only a tiny fraction of their ship's actual capabilities. Captain Do Hyun's voice came across all channels one final time before the demonstration began. You threatened our civilians. Now you will understand the consequences. What happened next would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. The KHSV Sejong the Great did not fire conventional weapons. No plasma beams erupted from its hull, no missiles launched toward the pirate fleet. No energy blasts crossed the space between the human warship and its targets. Instead, something far more terrifying occurred. The ship simply focused its attention on the pirate vessels. A wave of invisible force swept across the pirate formation. Not an energy, beam, or particle stream, but something that touched the very atoms of their ships. Captain Bom Yi watched her instrument panels with growing horror as readings began showing impossible results. Captain, her science officer reported with panic in his voice, our hull is changing. The molecular structure is being altered at the atomic level. Bom Yi stared through her view screen at the other ships in her fleet. They looked normal for a moment, then began to shimmer like mirages. The metal hulls that had protected her crews through countless battles started becoming transparent. She could see through the armor plating to the corridors inside. What is happening to us? She whispered. Research Director Yoon Young watched from her science vessel in absolute amazement. Her instruments detected the most advanced display of technology she had ever witnessed. The human ship was somehow converting matter itself, breaking down the complex molecular structures of the pirate vessels and rearranging them into simpler forms. They are not destroying the ships, she told her stunned research team. They are peacefully converting the matter back to basic elements. No violence, no explosions, just controlled atomic reorganization. Admiral Wu Jin stared at his tactical display as 50 pirate vessels simply ceased to exist. Not in fiery explosions or dramatic battles, but through a process so advanced that it looked like magic. The ships did not break apart or suffer damage. They just became something else entirely. Captain Bom Yi had time for one final transmission as her stolen cruiser dissolved around her. "What are you?" she asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Captain Do Hyun's response was simple and direct. "We are human, and you threatened our civilians." The transformation continued across the entire pirate fleet. Weapon systems became harmless gas. Armor plating turned into hydrogen atoms. Life support systems converted to basic elements that drifted away into space. In less than 30 seconds, one of the largest pirate fleets ever assembled had been reduced to clouds of elementary particles. No lives were lost. The human technology had somehow transported every crew member to safety before converting their ships. Escape pods appeared throughout the system, each containing confused but unharmed pirates who had just witnessed the impossible. The silence that followed was absolute. Admiral Wu Jin stood frozen on his command bridge. His instruments showed empty space where 50 armed vessels had been moments before. The readings defied everything he thought he knew about physics, warfare, and the limits of technology. "Admiral," his communications officer said in a shaking voice, "the human vessel is turning toward us." The KHSV Sejong the Great rotated slowly to face the Galactic Observer Fleet. Its dark hull reflected no light as it moved through space with impossible grace. Energy readings from its weapon systems remained active, though at power levels far below what it had just demonstrated. For a terrifying moment, Admiral Wu Jin thought the humans might consider the Observer Fleet a threat as, well, his ship carried enough firepower to level continents. But compared to what he had just witnessed, his weapons seemed like children's toys. Then, Captain Do Hyun's voice filled the communications channels again, calm and professional, as if nothing unusual had happened. "Observer Fleet, this is Captain Do Hyun of the KHSV Sejong the Great. The pirate threat has been neutralized. All civilian shipping routes are now secure. We are ready to return to diplomatic discussions." Admiral Wu Jin tried to respond but found his voice caught in his throat. Research Director Yoon Young activated her communication system with hands that trembled slightly. "Captain Do Hyun," she managed to say, "your technology appears to be significantly more advanced than our previous assessments indicated." A sound that might have been gentle laughter came through the speakers. "Research Director, humans have been observing galactic civilization for some time. We have learned much about your capabilities and limitations. Perhaps there have been misunderstandings about our own." As the human captain spoke, new readings appeared on every sensor display in the observer fleet. Gravitational signatures that indicated the presence of multiple large objects throughout the system. The Sejong the Great had not come alone. Research Director Yoon Young counted the readings with growing amazement. 12 additional contacts, she reported to her team. "No, 15. Wait, the numbers keep increasing." Admiral Wu Jin realized with mounting horror that an entire human fleet had been present throughout the entire encounter. They had watched invisibly as the galactic observers waited for humans who were already there. They had observed the pirate fleet prepare for battle against opponents who surrounded them without being detected. "How many ships?" he asked his sensor officer. "Difficult to determine, Admiral. Gravity well signatures suggest at least 20 vessels of similar size to the one we can see, possibly more." The observer fleet sat in absolute stillness. No one dared to move. No one wanted to risk being mistaken for a threat by beings who possessed technology that could rearrange matter at the atomic level. Every ship maintained position and waited to see what the humans would do next. Captain Do Hyun opened a communication channel to Ambassador Kyung Ho, who was presumably aboard one of the invisible human vessels. "Mission accomplished, Ambassador. The pirate threat has been eliminated with minimal disruption to local space. All civilian trade routes are secure and operational. We await further diplomatic instructions." The calm professionalism in his voice was somehow more terrifying than threats would have been. These humans had just demonstrated technology beyond galactic understanding, yet they spoke as if it was routine patrol duty. Ambassador Kyung Ho's response came from somewhere in the apparently empty space around them. "Thank you, Captain. Observer Fleet, I believe there may have been some misunderstanding about humanity's application for military observer status. Perhaps we should reschedule that council vote." Admiral Wu Jin found his voice at last. "Ambassador, I believe the council will want to review humanity's application very carefully. There may be need for significant revision to your proposed status level." Research Director Yoon Young was already composing reports in her mind. Everything the galactic community thought they knew about humans was wrong. The primitive species, Struggling with basic space travel was actually so advanced that their most powerful weapons operated on principles beyond current scientific understanding. "With respect, Ambassador," she said carefully, "the Galactic Council may wish to discuss a completely different type of relationship with humanity. Your technology suggests capabilities that exceed our previous classifications." The human response was gentle but firm. "We understand your surprise, Research Director. Humans prefer peaceful cooperation whenever possible. We revealed our capabilities today only because civilian lives were threatened. We hope this demonstration will help prevent future misunderstandings." As the observer fleet prepared to depart, the system, every crew member understood that they had witnessed something that would change galactic civilization forever. The balance of power had shifted in ways that would take years to fully comprehend. The humans had been among them all along, watching and waiting with technology that made them essentially gods compared to the rest of the galaxy. Yet they had chosen to remain hidden, to allow other species to believe themselves superior until the moment when innocent people needed protection. Admiral Wu Jin looked out at the space where the pirate fleet had been and realized that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had announced itself not through conquest or threats, but through an act of protection so overwhelming that resistance was unthinkable. The age of human dominance had begun not with a roar, but with a whisper that echoed across the stars.